And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, Alan Dorney, a Millwall legend. Cheers, Al, thanks so much, appreciate you joining us today. You come from the area, you used to go and watch Millwall as a boy, And then
I used to
what sort of players were around the team at that time when you was a boy watching them growing up?
I remember Peter Burridge, who was a striker, Dave Harper, one of the central defenders, the two Brady brothers, Joe Broadfoot, others what I can't name probably at the moment but they were good to watch, normally quite violent for home games.
Sounds about right.
But they were.
What was the den like as a kid? I mean, I know when I was a kid going in the 80s, it used to scare the shit out of me, but back in the day when you was a kid, what was it like being in and around the den and as a fan, as a young kid, getting in the ground and the atmosphere?
No, it was good. Where there's sort of a boundary, the touchline was almost in the terraces. It was very
compacting.
Yeah, like if someone took a throw in, you could sort of more or less tap them on the shoulder, and also verbally you could hear.
Get right.
Which I learnt later on in my career. You know, like when I started playing. You know, like I tried not to get too close to the touchline, like
even our ground.
Yeah, some liked you and some didn't. So it's quite amusing. And often, well, not often, but sometimes it's being local. I used to go to parties on a Saturday evening, and someone would normally say, like, "There's a party in the Greg tonight, Al, if you want to go." So I try to keep more in the central part or over the other side of the pitch, but.
Well, they used to shout from the touchline.
No, well, not shout, but you know, so it was.
Well, just like as you take the throw on, now quick one party tonight.
Yeah, good enough to hear. Yeah, providing you get a result, otherwise don't turn up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you was amongst them, saying you was partying with a fan base and all that back in the day.
Well, yeah, like I mean, obviously, if I had a drink, it was normally at a pub quite close to the ground, and there'd always be like people come over and like just want to have a chat, or like I know it always seemed quite pleasant to me, but some of them I've been told were like wolves in sheep's clothing, you know, like that. And when it was all right with me, but they might go outside and then be rolling around the floor with someone they'd had a disagreement with in the toilet or something.
Yeah. What was the playing at the den? Was it? I mean, what was the crowds like when you was playing there? Was it not as the crowds?
I think they were quite intimidated. Other sides, you know. I think probably it give you a little bit of an edge, but because I live local, I prefer playing away from home because if I did anything sort of good or wrong, like it was normally magnified.
Couldn't go and get a paper and a pint of milk down the shop.
No, that's right. I'd have to send the dog out.
Over 250 games.
Yeah.
One goal.
Yeah.
Wikipedia tells me.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Bristol City. Yeah.
What, an own goal, was it?
No. I was trying to clear it up the wrong end.
Bristol City home?
Yeah, and we won 1-0, so it was
and the winner and all.
Good one to get. Yeah, and at the time we were not doing that great that season, and so it was a good time to score a goal and obviously get the
celebrate
points.
Or just didn't know what was going on.
No, we didn't know how to celebrate. Where some of them get quite a lot of practice in. I only practice I got was over Deptford Park in like training ground games. Yeah.
Couldn't get on the score sheet just the once though.
No. I think I hit the bar at Preston as well.
He's got it.
But that was as close as I got, you know. And well, and a few people, like friends and people who used to go and watch, they said like if I went over the halfway line, I got lost.
Got a nosebleed.
But the reason being that like Barry Kitch was so good in the area for corners and free kicks, you know, that's why he was there every time, and I stayed back and tried to cover for him. But no, it was a rarity really for me to be in the opposition's penalty area.
Well, moving on to the aforementioned Barry Kitchen, obviously you're a Millwall legend in your own right, but you will be able to give people an insight into two massive legends that are no longer with us, Harry Cripps, Barry Kitchen. You played with both of them.
Yeah.
Let's start with Barry. As soon as you mentioned him, what was he like on the pitch? As not just on the pitch, but also after that. Let's cover what he was like off the pitch, because he's
like a gentle giant, really.
You took the words out of my mouth,
sort of well mannered, respected, and and then, as you say, like salaries weren't as they are now, and he had a fruit shop, like as you say, off the pitch.
Yeah.
And quite often, you know, like he'd go to the market to get fruit for his shop what his brother and him worked in, and I think occasionally he was late for training because his delivery was late, like getting them back to the shop with the fruit and veg, which they did. But no, he had nice wife, 3 girls I think he had, like children, and
that's fair. A lot of people say he was just a really
really
nice,
unassuming, you know, like
off the pitch. He was a giant as well, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was a big lad. I was younger. He was about 6 months younger than me, but he was about 6 inches taller. But he was a very pleasant chap, you know. And it's a shame that like life was cut quite short, really, because I think shortly after finishing either linked with training or playing for the club, he passed away.
Yeah. So I look at pictures. I see a picture the other day I put up on our social media of you. I didn't even realise this. I knew you'd played with Kitch, and I knew you played with Harry Cripps. I saw a picture. It was Brian King, you, Cripps, Posse, and Kitchener, like all in the same team.
Yeah.
That must have been some side.
Oh, they're very good.
Amongst others who I don't know, obviously, so I wasn't around them. But
no, out of the them lads are all really good players. But I mean, you had Eamon Dunphy.
Yeah, when I put that picture up and said that, someone else went, "Don't forget Eamon Dunphy."
Eamon Dunphy, Gordon Bolland.
Yeah.
And Keith Weller. On his day, he was the best player I ever played with.
Really.
But you know, like really, I think talented players sometimes they don't fancy it, and when he didn't fancy it, he might as well not been on the pitch. But
bit of a 1970s prima donna, was he? So we covered Kitchener. Harry Cripps. Did you? So as I understand it, so I've had to do my research because you are, as I mentioned, you're off camera, the first ever player I've interviewed that wasn't in my lifetime. So if you can give myself and people watching the younger generation a better understanding of what the team sort of was, King in goal, then you was a centre half with Kitch, or Harry Cripps was left back. Is that right?
Harry Cripps was one full back. Brian Brown was the hub, the other.
I know you was at the club for 11 years. So
yeah, myself and Barry were central defenders, and Dennis Burnett was sweeper. Then you had Eamon Dunphy, Dougie Alder, and Gordon Bolland, sometimes Stevie Brown, and Derek Posse, and there was various strikers. Barry Bridges played for a while, who'd played when he was younger. He came from Chelsea, I think, and he played for England as well.
Right. So what was Cripps like? What was Cripps like on the pitch? Lunatic. That's why the fans loved him.
Yeah, he wasn't as tough. Like he was very well. He came across as being like a hard man, but when push come to shove, he'd sort of get behind Kitch or someone a bit taller and call the other bloke names or something. Yeah, but
so Kitch was the main man.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he wasn't like nasty or aggressive, really.
No, it's when they cross that white line, get onto the pitch.
Yeah,
something different comes out in some people.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone were really nasty in the side. I mean, some people have someone who goes around, he's earmarked to clog people, and we didn't really have anybody like that.
Moving on to, obviously you was at the club for 11 years, pretty much start to finish your career, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Managers in that time, good managers, bad managers?
Well, I mean, as I say, Billy Gray, I think he'd gotten from what was 4th division then into the 3rd division, and then into the 2nd division. He was only manager there 3 seasons, and he got promoted in each of the seasons he was there, and then he left, and Benny Fenton came in his place, I think.
Who was the fella, sorry to take you away from that, it's just popped in his mind. He had a car garage in the Old Kent Road, and they went to smash his car garage up. Was that the chairman at the time?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Mickey Purser.
When you said Billy Fenton, I don't know why, that jogged my memory of that.
Yeah,
was
he
under his reign?
Yeah, he was the chairman while he was manager, yeah.
What was he like as a manager, Fenton? No good?
Well, no, he was all right for me. I mean, if the manager picks you, you know, like, you're sort of pleased with him. and the one who come in his place was Gordon Jago, and he didn't really fancy me much. So once he came, you know, like my days were quite numbered, sort of thing. I mean, he brought new players in, and if they bring new players in, they got to play them. And he had Tony Hazel, Ray Evans, probably a couple of other lads who I can't think of now.
What was he like, Derek Posse, as a player? Because they show a lot on Old Mill or whatever clips. The bit of an iconic goal where he runs onto his left foot, scores one at the Cold Blow Lane.
Yeah, no, he was really good striker. I mean, and for a little lad, I mean, he was quite short. He'd get quite a few goals with his head as well. So, but no, him and Keith Weller, I think they came to Millwall together, like, and it was a package deal, and like the pair of them were like sort of breath of fresh air, really, like, and changed a lot of the way things.
Saying about that side that I mentioned in the picture, like someone said, ask him about the Great Millwall side of 1971. Was that? Did you go on a great run or anything like that? Or?
Well, we nearly got promoted. I think that's the season where we thought we had got promoted. I mean, the last game of the season was at home to Preston, I think, and.
You said I've hit the bar up there previously.
No, that wasn't. That was later. That was when we were mid-table or something. But we were like I forget. Norwich had been promoted, and it was out of us or Birmingham who would then get promoted. And rumour had gone. We won 2-0 at home to Preston, and rumour had gone round that Birmingham had lost wherever they were playing, but in fact they won. So they had one more game to play. We were still in second place, and on a Monday evening they played Orient at Orient's ground, and they beat them 1-0. So like, they went up instead of us.
So over 250 appearances for the club. Any that particularly stick out in your mind? Any big games you played in?
Well, one season we had a reasonably good cup run. I think we beat Forest and Everton in early cup rounds, and so I think we got down back to the last 8 or 16. And well, the best was like winning 2-0 at Everton, you know, and we could have been 4 or 5-0 down at half time, but the goalkeeper Brian King, he had a super game, and then like you said earlier, like Harry Cripps, I mean, he scored one goal, and Alfie Wood got the other one, and we won 2-0, and well, that was like the good side to it. But I also remember, I think it was the season after Sunderland won the cup when they beat,
71 was it? 71,
yeah, I don't know if they beat Liverpool or they beat somebody anyway. Like they were then a second division side like ourselves. And Manchester United had got relegated when Tommy Docherty was their manager. And the start of the new season, I think our first game was Sunderland at home, and we lost that 4-0. And the second game was Manchester United away, and we lost that 4-0 at Old Trafford. Yeah. So we'd got off to a good start. I don't think we went down that season. We still stayed up, but only like middle table. But no, and as I say, playing at Old Trafford was brilliant, but the result wasn't so good.
No, that's played 2, lost 2, conceded 8 there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the best of starts, is it?
No, brilliant. No. But all in all, Millwall, unbelievable times for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I say, it's pretty much difficult to compare because like the only other club really I had was Dartford, and that's part-time, and it's like a different world really as to playing as a full-time job.
Yeah, brilliant. Al, I feel like I can call you Al now. Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot, mate. I'm joined today by Frank Harper. Frank, for joining us, mate. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Right, where do we start here?
I don't know, where do you want to start?
Not only a Millwall fan, only an actor, son of a Millwall player.
Yeah.
Start at the very beginning. I know you won't remember a lot about it, obviously.
No, unfortunately, no, I don't. I think my dad signed pro for Millwall, I think it was 57. And I think he played till 65. Then he had a couple of seasons at Ipswich. and then finished at Leighton Orient, which is I remember him playing for Leighton Orient. You know, vivid memories of that. I remember the night that Orient won the old third division, and coming out of the dressing room giving me his medals.
Oh really?
Which my brother's now got, but I've got the Millwall one from the 61-62 season when they won the old fourth division. So.
Did he tell you stories of the old Den when he used to play?
Yeah,
because obviously a lot of people who watch the channel won't remember the old Den.
Yeah, I mean it's. I once interviewed. I was interviewed by Robert Elms at Listed London. He said, "What was the best view in London?" Was one of the questions, and I said, "Walking up the steps of the old Coblow Lane and looking at the pitch, you know, it's just something really exciting about that, you know." It's a lot of great memories from the old Den.
I mean, I was only young, but even though I was a Millwall fan, it used to intimidate me going down. It was half a scary place just to be, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I suppose if you talk about celebrity Millwall fans, I mean, around sort of late '80s, I did a movie with Denzel Washington where he had to play a Falklands veteran, and the real life guy that the story was based on was a Millwall fan. So Denzel Washington has stood on the terrace at the old pub.
Really,
yes,
there
with
you
me.
go.
So everyone says an urban myth, but I was standing with him. So yeah.
What did he make of it?
He said he was very quiet for about half an hour, and he said, "I know why they call it the Lion's Den, Frank." I went, "What's that, mate?" He said, "This must be the closest you'd ever get to the atmosphere inside the Colosseum in Rome in its heyday."
Oh, that's unbelievable to hear. But I mean, you say your old mate, when you was things they were footballers now, if you're the son of a footballer, it's like, oh, gee, was it a little bit less low key then? People going, and your old man's a footballer.
It was a big deal.
Was it still then?
Yeah, it was a big deal back then. You know, it's like you know, when you're kids, you know, you have these arguments like, my dad's bigger than yours.
Yeah.
Well, saying that my dad played for Millwall was like dropping the handball.
Yeah, it's a winner. You can't beat it.
Can't beat that, you know, especially playing up in South London. So where I grew up it was a big deal. You know, because where I grew up in, I sort of grew up in Downham.
Yeah.
You know, it was a big Millwall area. So
yeah.
It's a lot. It was different. It was different. The fact that I remember in the school holidays, my dad taking me to pre-season training when he was at the Orient. So it was different than what other kids had.
What getting to do, yeah.
You know, so it was always unusual. You know, it was always a big deal that my dad.
He scored in the FA Cup once, didn't he? Against Fulham.
Yeah, the famous goal against Fulham. Yeah, it's well, that was the other. The other Robert Elms question is, if you could go back in history, where would you go back to? And I think it'd be to the Den that night. My dad scored that goal. Although it was before substitutes, so he was injured. So they stuck him up front because he was limping basically. He was injured, and he scored the winning goal. Bear in mind at the time, Millwall was in the fourth division. Fulham were in the old first division.
Yeah.
A lot of England international like Johnny Haynes, George Cohen, people like that, and evidence, because I've got the photo, says he was inside the 6-yard box when he scored. Although over the years,
further out.
It was a volley from 40 yards out over the years. Per time when he told the story, yeah, so it got further and further out. Although Barry Rowan's always upset that he scored the other goal that night. It's never talked about.
Oh really? Yeah.
He complains about that every time I see him in the. At the Den, he said, "One forgets I scored the other goal that night." And there you go. So, Barry, you scored the other goal. Well done, Barry.
But it's Frank's day today, so bad. So you, when you was moving around, was it like you moved around? You had to go Ipswich, had up routes and move, or?
We lived in Ipswich for 2 years, but I don't remember that. I do remember vaguely. You know, I remember Bill McGarry.
Yeah.
The Ipswich manager coming around the house. For some reason, I remember that.
Yeah.
But no, I pretty much grew up in the same house, really, apart from in 2 years.
Yeah. Did your old man try to push you into being a footballer?
No,
that's like me. My man pushed me, and he wasn't even a footballer. He's a roofer, but he was desperate for me to be a player.
I think even you see it. I mean, you see it a lot in my profession where people are trying to live their lives with their children.
Yeah.
And even back then, my dad, because I was playing football as a schoolboy, my dad had always complained about these parents doing my head in.
Yeah.
So but because he'd done it, there wasn't that there wasn't that sort of
pressure. You got to do it because I never made it. He did make it, so
yeah. So
do what you want to do.
It's a little bit more easy going actually.
And obviously you didn't get. Was you any good football?
Well, it depends who you talk to, really, isn't it? I played at a reasonable standard up until I left school. You know, I played with a lot of players that went on to have really good careers. You know, I played with Tony Cascarino, Andy Townsend, Paul Walsh.
He's from William.
Yeah, Danny Wallace. You know. So I played with quite a few players that went on to have Pat Van Den Houwer played. There's quite a few players that did go on and have careers. You know.
You spoke about your old man playing for Millwall. Obviously, you working in Smithfield, you must have been back around the area. Did you go to Millwall as a youngster through your teenage years?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, it was like a tradition. You know, Saturday, when they had one match in Deptford High Street, and then went to the game. You know, so pretty much a sort of.
What era do you sticks out in your mind?
Well, I mean, I'm sort of regular, really, from sort of the mid-70s, pretty much up to the present day. Seen it all, seen some great players, seen some good sides. I think the interesting thing is that we do well when we seem to bring a group of young players through.
Definitely, yeah.
Even going back to my dad's day, back then the Millwall side that won the old 4th division back in the 60s was full of players that
he came through the youth team, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he won an England cap for England youth. So, but if you look at all our successful sort of sides, there's this sort of nucleus of 4, 5, 6 players who've come through the youth system. I think that a club the size of Millwall has to keep bringing young players through because we never really get that financial input. It's more.
Yeah, you're right. To buy a big player, we haven't. That's right. So homegrown.
Is that true? Paul Goddard is still our record.
Paul Goddard, to my knowledge, is still. The thing I find Millwall is well when they buy a lot of players, it always says for an undisclosed fee. They never tell you how much. Why? I don't get that. But as far as I know, Paul Goddard is still record signing. 800 grand, wasn't it?
Going back to the late 80s.
I remember, yeah. And he was shit, and all for us.
Well, he was for us, yeah.
Yeah, you find that a lot as well. Players come and when they get to us, they don't do as good. Obviously, the crowd on their back or.
Well, I think where the chairman made a great decision. I think in appointing Neil Harris because Neil is such a Millwall legend. He was always going to get a bit more time with the crowd than say an outsider. And I think hopefully that'll bear fruit. I mean, I think we had a good season this year. I think to get to Wembley again. That's the 4th time we've been to Wembley in 10 years. Is it something like that?
Yeah, 7 years. I think.
So I mean, that's a remarkable achievement, and I think that hopefully that will take us forward. Hopefully to go straight up next season.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Got to fucking miss them playoff sets.
But
killing me.
But again, it feels like there's a group of young players coming through, and there seems to be. What I've seen of them, there seems to be a real team spirit there at the moment, and hopefully that Neil can continue that next season. The big worry is if you look at the Championship now, I think that you need some sort of massive cash injection to stay in the Championship.
The gulf is getting bigger in between this League One and the Championship, definitely.
Well, I think that if you go back when Dennis Wise was manager, and I think at the time, we got to the cup final and we were hovering around that playoff position. And I think he thought then that he probably, if we kept Cahill and signed 2 more players, it could get us in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we know that Cahill was probably sold for a pittance. I mean, David Moyes is on record saying that is the biggest money bargain that ever came into the Premier League. So that is a worry, and especially if you look at clubs the size of Newcastle and Villa that are going to be in the Championship next season. I mean, they're massive clubs in terms of their fan base. So it is worrying, and I've always said, if Millwall's in and around, the top flight, the second flight of football in this country, we're punching above our weight.
Yeah.
I think 20% of players that are playing in the Euros at the moment play in the Championship.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about how competitive that league is.
That's the Wales and the Irish factor in it.
Yeah, not just the home countries, but also a lot of them teams have got championship players in them. You know, a lot of them. Especially once you get outside the big 5 or 6, there's a lot of championship players there.
In the Euros, what you thinking?
Well, my initial reaction was, oh, here we go. He's made the same 3 mistakes again. We seem to do it every championship. And he has done it. He took players on reputation above players in form.
Yeah, you're right.
He's taken players who are injury prone or not match fit,
and
he's trying to put square pegs in round holes. Saying that, I think he made a brilliant decision against Wales, which is not any. He's a very cautious man. He's a very cautious manager. Where if you're going to win something, you've got to play without fear. And I think we've got the players that can do that. I think he's been a lucky manager because I think he got past after the last Euros because he only just taken charge. Any other international manager would have been sacked after whacking himself. And out of nowhere, we've suddenly, what appears to us out of nowhere, there's suddenly this huge young talent. We knew about Harry Kane because he spent a bit of time with us, but people like Dele Alli, Eric Dyer, all these sort of people, they just sort of seem to come from nowhere.
I think, like you just said, you're saying all the same things, and a lot of us all say the same things. And I think with the English team, a lot of it, you just need a character in charge who can motivate, because you can't buy or sell players. A lot of us as fans could all pick he's pretty much the best team. You just need someone who can fucking motivate, and he don't seem to me just like a big fucking wet weekend, doesn't he?
Well, I think the problem was after Brazil. One of the reasons he didn't get the sack was who to replace him with. Because the only logical person to replace him with would have been they would have gone cap in hand and humiliate themselves and gone to Redknapp. If you're talking about someone to motivate people over a short period of time, then it was a sort of logical choice. But the FA never do that, do they? They're frightened of someone having a personality.
And just he is. I know from people who are in the game, he's very much a yes man, and that is maybe why he is where he is.
England have apart from Venables, every England manager.
He was the one Venables. He was the one.
Every England manager is a yes man. Apart, ironically enough, Ramsey wasn't.
Right.
Because people don't realise that before Ramsey took charge, the England team was picked by a committee.
Is it really?
Yeah. I think it was Winterbottom.
Like right, doing with the cricket and all that.
I think Winterbottom was technically the manager, but he didn't pick the side. It was picked by a committee. And when Ramsey took the job, he was the first to say, "No, I picked the team. It's my team." And and it was interesting. There was a brilliant documentary called Alfie's Boys about the '66 World Cup, and his mantra was, "Don't put square pegs in round holes." And there was a lot of controversy when he picked Jack Charlton, people like Nobby Stiles, but for him, Jack Charlton was the perfect foil for Bobby Moore, and Nobby Stiles got the ball, gave it to the best player in the world at the time, which was Bobby Charlton. So it's not. And I think that back then, because we didn't have substitutes, he didn't have a choice. He couldn't take a chance on Jimmy Greaves. Jimmy Greaves.
Did he score on every round up until the final or something?
Well, I mean, see, the argument about England is that in '66, and this was my dad's philosophy, not mine. He said in '66 we had 5 players that would have walked into a World 11 without pretty much any argument, which was Ray Wilson, fullback, Gordon Banks, obviously, and then obviously Moore, Charlton, and Jimmy Greaves, who didn't play. And that's a World 11 that would have included Pele, Sabic, Beckenbauer. You couldn't make that statement today or since then.
No. What are you up to now, mate? What are you up to next?
Well, I'm in the process of writing another film. I've got the bug for it after I wrote it St George's Day, so we're looking to do a film about Afghanistan. So about British soldiers in Afghanistan. So that's the next project. And it doesn't just look at the war; it looks at the aftermath of when people come home.
Knock-on effect and what can happen.
So it's a sort of it's a film told in flashback. I've wanted that for a long time. I spent quite a lot of time with servicemen and ex-servicemen. So I've been doing the research. So hopefully we can get up and running this year.
Good, that'd be very close to. I mean, a lot of Millwall fans are very supportive of the armed forces, isn't they, Dan?
I think, yeah.
I think everyone is.
I think everyone is. I think whatever your politics, people generally support the work that that the armed forces do, and their bravery and courage and commitment is, it's second to none.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. More man than I am, a lot of them. Frank, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Lions TV, welcome back. We're covering the 80s with an ex-Millwall player, absolutely paramount to everything Millwall represents. I didn't personally get to see you play, but I played under you. It's Kevin Bremner, briefly. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yes, good, thank you.
So, when I put out on social media that we would be interviewing you, it got a really good response. Really, really good. People said, he epitomised everything that a Millwall player should be. Wore his heart on his sleeve, got stuck in.
When I say to people now on Facebook, I was tailor-made for Millwall.
Yeah.
The way I played, my attitude, the fact that I kept on running. I keep telling people the game's not over till the final whistle.
Yeah, 100%. And you scored. You had a good scoring record in general in English football.
Yeah.
You had a good career, but you scored for us. I think it was 36 goals in 92 games.
Something like that, yeah.
So I've done my research.
Just over 1 in 3.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good return.
Yeah. It wasn't only that. It was the people round about me as well scored goals as well.
Yeah. Signed from Colchester for £25,000.
What a bargain.
What an absolute bargain in today's money, especially. But back then, I suppose it was a little bit more money back then. Yeah. Was you signed by George Graham?
Yeah, George. Well, I'm the first player that George paid money for because he had Lovers on a free on trial. Then he had David Stride was on a free. Peter Wells was on loan. Who else came on loan?
It was a bit of a transitional period, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. He paid 25 for me, and then he sold Trevor Aylott to Barnsley or Luton for about 85-90 grand, and then he took in Kuzi and Anton.
Yeah, Anton. How'd you say that? I can't even attempt it, but he was a great player, wasn't he?
Excellent, made me loads of goals.
Yeah. So, was you part of? Was it The Great Escape? There is actually a documentary. There's a documentary. I think George Graham took over, 16 points, rock bottom, on the verge of going. I mean, let's have it right. You played for Millwall at a time when things weren't fantastic. Until you signed, then you changed everything.
Tell you what, I was down on loan at Plymouth in January, and Lincoln were flying high at the top of the 3rd division, and Millwall were 10 points adrift from the Safe Club.
Jesus.
In the 3rd division, and they both came in for me, and I went with George because I think he wanted me more.
Yeah.
Or maybe because it was he was
Scottish.
I
didn't want to say that. The Scottish connection.
No, but he did. He made me feel wanted, and
yeah.
And
I chose Millwall.
Yeah, chose
Millwall. What was it like? Your first impressions of the Den?
Well, my first game there was only just over 2,300 people there.
So
and even with that amount of people in it, the atmosphere was electric.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think we beat Exeter 5-2 or so. I didn't score. I think Dean Neal scored a hat-trick actually. Being
in and around the Den, obviously we were just discussing off camera, it's not there anymore. It was a random place. But it was
in the middle of nowhere, really.
It was. It is on the back of a ground track, underneath an arch. It's sort of one of them old school grounds that looked like it grew there, didn't it? First impressions, of not only the ground but the fans.
They loved the trier.
Yeah.
And as I said, I was tailor-made for him.
Yeah. To this day, I think if you just chase the goalkeeper down and stick one on him, everyone's like that. They love it, don't they? They love it.
It's funny you should say that. I've been out injured for 6 or 7 weeks, and we were playing Bournemouth in the Freight Rover or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a Tuesday night at the Den, and George put me on for the last 20 minutes. And I've chased the left back down. Hooray! Millwall fans. He's passed it the centre half. Chased him down. Hooray! The other centre half. Chased him down. Hooray! Right back got it. Hooray! got played back to the keeper. Wallop.
Brilliant.
The ref pulled me and he says, Brems, he says, pretend I'm giving you a telling off. He says, don't let the crowd wind you up.
The crowd, to this day, they'll still thrive off that. You're right, you just got to be a try, but you scored your fair share of goals as well.
Oh yeah.
Helped by, you said players around you. What sort of players, other than Anton, Steve Lovell, would have been there about that time?
Lovers was Lovers was right back at the time, and then he played up front with me. I can't remember, it was a second season or a first season, or full season. I joined in February '83, and I can't remember whether Lovers went up front in '83 or '84. Maybe it was season '84-'85.
Yeah.
He changed to play up front.
So let's set the scene there. So you've joined the club, and we are literally, we're 10 points from safety. How did George Graham sell that to you?
He honestly
He got a whiskey out, didn't he?
No, he didn't. No. I wouldn't have done it anyway. No, he just wanted me, and I thought, gee whiz, he really does.
Yeah, it's
He
nice
really
for one.
does.
Yeah. What was he like as a manager? Would he get involved with the players, or was he a little bit of a disciplinarian?
Very much a disciplinarian. But there was a guy who came on loan from QPR, Steve Burke.
Right.
As a left winger. He made me quite a few goals as well as when he was on loan. But I used to go out with him on a Wednesday and a Thursday. You're not supposed to go out 40 hours before the game, but we went out Wednesday and Thursday in the bar cave in Blackheath, as it was then. I don't know what it's called now. But we used to have a few. I didn't drink wine before, but he drank wine, so I drank what he drank. So I drank white wine as well. So that was a Wednesday and a Thursday. So. Because
George Graham, I've heard rumours from other old players said, well, not rumours, confirmed, that he'd make you, if he caught you out, he'd give you the worst jobs in the world. He'd make you run up and down the stands or clean the stands.
That wouldn't make any difference to me, would it?
You were still running from Saturday, putting tackles in. You got the Great Escape, and then sort of the next season.
Next season was we was there or thereabouts, but we weren't quite good enough.
Right.
Yeah. And then in my 2 and a bit seasons there, so in the second season we just went from strength to strength, and I can't remember whether it was Doncaster one week, and then who was the other team? I scored 2 great headers. Bristol Rovers, actually. Bristol Rovers, I scored 2 absolute belters of headers, and they were both from Anton's free kicks.
What was he like? I mean, I've heard he was good.
Oh, Anton?
Yeah.
he fell over and got a penalty.
But other than that, he was a decent winger, wasn't he?
He turned people inside out.
What was he like in the dressing room?
He was all right. I mean, see, Cousy and him came together.
Dave Cusack.
Yeah, Dave Cusack. Yeah, and they were Dave Cusack was a big player, and he knew a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And he had a few arguments with George.
Yeah.
Because he would stick up. He
wouldn't have it.
He would stick up for himself with George. He would let him paste him down or take him down a step or two. But no, Cousy had a couple of boots flying.
Oh really? Yeah, because I was saying earlier, the drinking culture in football's gone out of it now.
Yeah.
Back in the sort of when I was late 80s, early 90s, a kid, you didn't know of it, but finding out what you know back then now, that sort of made players, that sort of made a team, and that's sort of out of football now. Was there a good drinking culture and a good togetherness in the dressing room?
In the season we stayed up in the Great Escape, we all after a game we'd go to the Royal Albert on Shooters Hill.
Yeah.
Just going on the right hand side as you go up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where we went after the game, and that we bonded in there.
Yeah.
And we had a few beers and well, and good laugh and all the rest of it. But it was the following season. It was a Crown and Anchor, and the season after that it was a Crown and Anchor.
You don't remember the fixtures, you remember the pubs. Is that how you turned it around in that dressing room at Millwall? Is that how you sort of went from just narrowly avoiding games? What division would you have gone into?
The fourth
division, which is now League
2.
League 2 now, yeah.
doesn't sound so bad, does it? But
It dresses it up a bit, doesn't it?
Dresses it up a bit rather than the 4th division. Yeah.
4th division.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
I think Millwall might have gone out of business.
yeah, mate, I think you could have been right.
To be fair to Thorney done well to get George there. I don't know how he managed
Who's
to get
Thorney?
George. Brian Thorney was a chairman.
Oh, he was the chairman back then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've had a lot of good Millwall times in my lifetime, but the 80s. Funny enough, the late 80s was very successful, but the early 80s wasn't so much. You know, and there was hard times at the club. But you said even so, the fans were still phenomenal.
Oh yeah, as I said, even with 2,300 fans there, and well, the effort I put in, they appreciated the hard work.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, my dad is as well, people don't know, but I played under you briefly a long time ago, and he said Kevin Bremner's the manager. Kevin Bremner, I didn't.
You didn't know
and
who
he said
he
he's
was.
fucking brilliant. He said he said he scored an header once at the Den. He said he dived in and headed it, and he said he took a whack and kicked on the nose. He said he got up. He said didn't even know. He just went yeah. Didn't even know you'd had. There's people like your nose is hanging off, and you're like, don't worry about it. Do it again in a minute.
That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, the euphoria of scoring goals outweighed any pain.
Yeah, of course. So you ended up obviously leaving the club eventually.
Yeah.
Was that still under George Graham?
That was George, yeah.
What happened there?
He greedy bugger didn't give me any money.
Oh, what, he didn't want to pay you?
No.
Because as I said, you talk to people and say, yeah, Kevin Bremner epitomised Millwall. What a perfect player for Millwall, as you've said to me as well. So then to see you leave after 2 seasons is, I'm looking at that thinking, what's happened there?
Yeah.
He wasn't talented enough at that stage because you went and scored a load of goals elsewhere.
Yeah. No, I was probably in the prime then, at 25, 26 years old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then you went to Reading, so scored a load of goals at Reading.
Yeah.
So what, George didn't want to get the chequebook out?
No, he didn't want to give me any more money. Simple as that. I got more money to go to Reading, and then when I brought to Brighton, I got even more money.
You scored
from
a few at Brighton, didn't you?
Yeah, Brighton's the best contract I ever signed.
Yeah.
I thought I was in the big time.
Well, you ain't doing bad.
Oh, this is through the move. I had the misfortune of buying my first house off of Paul Scally in Donaldson Road in Shoes Hill.
Dodgy bollocks. Paul Scally, wasn't he? I remember him. So yeah, that was a shame to see you leave the club. But as I said, when you talk about, I regard you, although I didn't actually personally get to see you play, but the way people spoke about you, I said you give everything, and you epitomised it. A short-term legend at the club, similar to, I would put Kevin Muscat in that bracket.
Oh, well,
Steve Claridge in that bracket.
At the time, well, when I was there, it was Harry Cripps I was getting likened to.
Yeah, oh really?
So that was high praise indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Who else was in around that squad of yours? Because I'm relying on you a bit here because I was alive. I was free. So
Peter Wells was a goalkeeper for a couple of seasons, and then Paul Sampson took over.
I sort of remember.
Lovers was right back for a while, and then he was centre forward. Rhino was right back after that.
Oh, Keith Stevens.
Yeah.
Oh, let's chat about Rhino.
Rhino, he is Mr. Millwall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Mr. Millwall.
Another one. He's a one club man, isn't he?
Yeah.
Only ever played for Millwall and managed us.
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was tremendous. Tough in the tackle. He could take anything.
It wasn't at Millwall a great deal of time, but in those 2 seasons,
2 and a bit.
What games stick out to you? Good games, big wins,
in fact,
or losses, and you got a bollocking?
No. In fact, another of my clubs, Reading, in the season that we stayed up in the Great Escape, I think it was 2 or 3-0 down at half time. Ian Stewart, who was on loan from QPR at the time, he was an Irish international, but Stewie, he made me loads of goals as well. He got sent off in the first half with 5 minutes to go, and then we was 2 or 3-0 down at half time, and then I think Dean Neal was the other one that got sent off, and so we're down to nine men
and 3-0 down.
2 or 3-0 down.
Oh dear.
And we got back to 2-2 or 3-2. I can't remember. Theo says it's the best game he's ever seen me play.
Theo Foley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just talk more about if you just being around Millwall, being around the Den, just what it was like to play at the Den, and any associations you had with the fans.
Well, years later, in 1987 probably, I went to Brighton, and a guy called Mike Trusson came as well.
Right.
Doug Rugby came, Dean Wilkins came. Who else did he sign? Barry Lloyd. And Truss he says, I always remember you, he says, down at the Den. He says, you lads were defending the corner and you're singing No One Likes Us, We Don't Care.
But while you was on the pitch?
Yeah.
Just chanting along?
Yeah, the fans were singing it, so I was singing it as well. And I'm thinking, you're off your bloody head, you are, Bremner.
Yeah, imagine you're waiting for a corner and the striker singing the same song as the fans. You think, what the fuck, wouldn't you? You would, wouldn't you?
That's just the way it was.
Yeah. Was you sad to go, leave the club?
Oh, I didn't want to go. I phoned Theo from Reading and asked him, get George to change his mind. In fact, it was from Paddington Station, I think. I was before mobile phones.
Yeah, you would have been. You were on the train to Reading, and hang on, I can't do this. Theo, you've got to get on the George Graham for me and change his mind.
I tried to.
Get the keys to his safe. Dish out the Brems a couple.
Really Scotch gay.
Oh, Kev, honestly, thank you. Josh Zerkaa, mate.
Okay, for this one.
Yeah, well, was he? Yes. Do we still do that now?
I don't know.
YouTubers do.
I don't know.
So obviously, as I've said, massive YouTuber, but more importantly, a Millwall fan.
Indeed.
How did that come about?
That's just, I guess, both the same story as most Millwall fans. Like, my whole family, dad's side, is all Millwall, and so Millwall for me was like a childhood family thing. That was our family get together every Saturday or Tuesday night, come down Millwall, sit in block 16.
Block 16, yeah?
Yeah, we moved to the west side. Something must happen, must have got some more money. I don't know what happened.
First ever impressions of Millwall, your first ever game, do you remember it?
That's the thing, I have no memory of my first game. That's the one sad thing. I should have texted my dad before and said, like, oh, what's my first game? I don't know what my first game is. It must be like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Or even younger.
So what year would that have been? What sort of year do you remember from?
My main season I remember is the season we got promoted into Division 1. Which would have been that game where we beat Oldham 5-0.
Yeah, Stephen Reid scored the rocket.
Yeah, and we got promoted at Wrexham.
Yep.
And I went to Wrexham.
I went to Wrexham as well, yeah. I went for the weekend.
One-all draw, yeah.
Had a weekend in Chester. You was probably a bit young for a weekend away at that point.
Yeah. I'd have been 8.
Yeah, I remember everyone was on the pitch after the game.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a pitch invasion. That was they opened the doors.
Yeah, they did.
For the first time. As in, like, here, that is, for the 5-0. Normally, like, we win saying, can we all go run on the pitch? I don't, but
just get that in.
Yeah, very clear. I have to go run the pitch. Don't run the pitch. It's bad.
So the team then, God, that was a very good first team to be around. The current gaffer, Neil Harris, Stephen Reid, Paul Moody, Christoph Kinney, Tony Warner. Tony Warner will be watching. What do you remember? What do you remember of Big Denzel? Because he will be seeing this.
All I remember is Denzel Watson score, and I was a goalie back then for like my under 9 team. Yeah. And then so he was like my idol, my hero. Like, I want to be him because everyone idolised him in the ground.
There's 3 years, obviously, I'm slightly older than you. There's 3 years that stick out to me in my Millwall lifetime, and that definitely is one of them. It was just a brilliant time to be around the club. For me personally, when I was a bit older, I used to be the players would go out on nights out. We spoke about Bexley Heath and that earlier. The player was always out and about. And it just seemed to be a very good camaraderie, which for me, Neil Harris is trying to rebuild now. But
I feel like that's old school football, though.
Yeah. I
feel like because if you go back and listen to all these old footballers, like, oh, you used to go out drinking all the time, and it's like now you're athletes. It's different.
Exactly.
Really...
I actually covered that earlier on in documentaries. Exactly. The drinking culture has gone completely out of football, and it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, I think changing rooms can suffer and
they have to now share some hummus now, and it'd be great. Or like something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of hummus and a bit of yoga and stuff.
A protein shake.
Yeah, it is a shame, but back they were proper players, proper kit that year as well. The all white home kit.
Yeah, is that like the Giorgio one?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
That was
that our home kit?
That was our home kit, and people say now, I see debates all the time, should we have the stripe, should we have the blue, and people say, no, we're blue, it's got to be this blue, but people seem to forget that season.
Why was it white?
I don't know, I can't remember. It was is it like
a
commemorative.
That's the word. Got it.
Let's put my teeth in to do it. A commemorative kit, yeah. So you remember those times, remember being in the East Stand, and then you transferred to the West. What other memories you got from Millwall? Being teams, players, your favourite? Who was your all-time favourite player?
I know Tim Cahill.
Yeah.
I just feel like he has to go. I recently found out this week that his sons are fans of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he DM'd me on Instagram, and I was like, hang on, what? Tim Cahill?
He was like, I could send
My
you.
childhood hero.
I'll send you a Sidemen shirt if you send me get a signed Cahill one.
That's a good trade-off. I should do that.
Should do that. He came back there. We'll get on to him coming back later on in the interview. But yeah, Tim Cahill, your favourite player?
I think there's a player like Kevin Muscat.
Nutter.
I feel like I went to be a right back. I feel like I had to idolise any player in my position. So he was our right back, and I was like, you know what? I only Kevin Muscat, so I'm just going to go through players at the young age of 11 or 12.
Go nose to nose with people, start getting in their face on
He was
Sunday.
a nutter. No, I think that's why I loved him.
Yeah, he was. I always regard him as a short-term legend at the club. He wasn't here long.
How long was he here for? Like a year?
2 years. I think he played about 60, 70 games for Mill. But there's a very famous photo. I'll show it now on the screen. It's just of we played Liverpool. I think it was in a League Cup or a pre-season friendly, and he's literally looks like he's going to bite Milan Barish's nose off. He's just
That's here, right?
yeah.
We lose 3-0.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think that's in the League
results
Cup.
are important.
That's in the League Cup. Yeah,
it was a League Cup. What we took from that is the photo of Muscat. He was just raging, and that's just everything that Millwall player epitomised. You know, and that's what we've tried to capture.
We need one of those players again.
We do. That's what we've tried to capture in this documentary. Speak to the players. Like, you know, what would you describe a typical Millwall player to be?
Kevin Muscat.
But was that the draw when you said your dad first brought you down here? Was that the draw to you as a youngster coming down here and seeing these?
It's passion, isn't it?
Passion.
Like Millwall fan bases, obviously, like we can be passionate, and sometimes it goes wrong. We go too passionate. But all we ever want from players, no matter how good you are. I mean, look at Jimmy Abdu. As long as you're passionate and you get involved, you just get into a tackle.
Yeah.
It's one way to get into like a Millwall fan's heart. Just crunch someone.
That's exactly right.
And that's it. Like, play puts in passion, gives 110%, regardless of if we're winning or losing. And that's all I want to see or expect from a Millwall player.
But you got your first era. I
think I'm very lucky with mine.
My first era was Tony Cascarino, Teddy Sheringham.
Yeah. So you were very lucky.
I was very lucky, and you in the same boat. Obviously, our all-time top scorer would have been firing. There's a picture of him in the alley just over there. Neil Harris. Would you remember Harris?
I remember going on a long walk with my dad for when he had cancer, when he had testicular cancer.
Yeah.
I remember doing the walk with him. Well, I don't know what game it was. I remember like a Norwich game or something.
Right.
I remember him, but then other than that, just an incredible striker, someone who epitomises Millwall, puts in effort. But then he's cheeky. He gets corners out of nowhere, keep ball against people. It's like he's a smart player.
He wasn't the target man, obviously, and he wasn't super quick either. So
I've not seen that. I don't know. It's like a weird player.
Yeah, I'd agree. I know what you mean.
It's a really strange style because he was smart in weird ways in the way that he'd play the game. He was a good gamesman, I guess.
Yeah.
He could get us a corner.
Clever with it. What do people say if it ever comes up in conversation, football comes up, and you say, I'm a Millwall fan? What sort of reaction do you get to that?
Every time it's like, oh, why?
He was a nice boy.
Yeah. That is it. Like, you're way too nice to be a Millwall fan. I don't know. A lot of people like it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's people I like. I mean, I always say I love an underdog anyway. I think people view Millwall as like, it's an underdog team. But I think everyone hates Millwall, but they like us at the same time.
Yeah,
because we're a team that we still have our we still have our authenticity.
Yeah.
We're still exactly who we were 20 years ago, which a lot of clubs aren't anymore.
No, spot on.
So now it's this hard balance of, do you want to keep chasing getting higher in Championship, or do you want to stay where we are and just?
Well, a lot of that,
and we're at that bit now. We're at that crux point now.
Yeah, it took me back a bit, to be honest, because I'm watching this and you really are a Mill fan. It's not smart. Yeah. But you fully understand and are involved with it. You're not just one of these people go, I'm a Millwall fan, but he's in between us. He's never there. Do you know what I mean?
I only stop. I don't come as often now.
Yeah. Due to work.
Yeah, and that's simply
The 2004 FA Cup run.
Yeah. That's the next sticking point memory for me. I think that semi-final at Old Trafford against Sunderland, that Tim Cahill goal. Limbs.
It was with a little bit of a deflection. I was right behind that Cahill goal, and I thought he controlled it well. When he did, we sort of deflected off the thing, and I just remember going to the FA Cup semi-final thinking, we've got this far. That's impossible. We're never going to get to play Man United, and when we did.
Yeah, as a kid, that was when I had and then I'm watching Millwall, I'm also watching Cristiano Ronaldo at the same time. Oh my God.
Yeah. poor old Robbie Ryan that day got turned inside out, didn't he? Bless him.
And he also got his legs broken, Ronaldo, that day.
I know. Yeah, Ronaldo scored, didn't he? Do you remember Ronaldo scored and sort of run towards our fans?
Yeah, that was in front of us. Yeah,
People were someone tried to get on and get him. But yeah, as a 24-year-old, I kept thinking this can't be real, this cup run.
So that year is what? So we played Tranmere, right? We played Tranmere here.
We played Tranmere here, drew.
And then went to them, and that's where Harris scores like the chest and volley.
That's it, left foot.
I came here and I had a bloody like, Mohican, blue and white, and the face paint. Only young.
Oh dear.
I was repping my colours.
I think Muscat missed the penalty here. Their goalkeeper saved it, tipped it over. And that's what took us to the replay.
Muscat, hate him.
The FA Cup final. What's your memories of the FA Cup final?
Oh yeah, for us it was just a great day out. No one even cared about that because I think we all knew.
Yeah.
It was waiting. It was like, okay, the time's ticking. We're getting there. We're getting closer and closer. And they've scored. Okay, it's over. Let's just enjoy the day.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing billboards around at the time. It's a picture of Dennis Wise, and it's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I did get sucked in a little bit of that.
You make like a song.
We did do it. That's actually on YouTube. I might clip that up. But
there's like Theo Paphitis like miming at the start.
Theo Paphitis. But Dennis Wise as a manager, I know he was young. He gets a lot of grief, but I liked him.
That's the thing. So I feel like there's a blur. I remember liking him, and suddenly I was told to not like him.
Yeah.
And I don't know where. It's had to do with money, right? Did he like?
I think he was ambitious.
Compensation or something.
Yeah, I think before he left, I think he was ambitious and he wanted to take us to the next level. But
it was working at one point.
I thought he was a good manager. I thought he was a perfect fit for Millwall. Other managers that stick out for you?
Mark McGee.
I loved McGee.
I think cheer up Mark McGee.
Cheer up Mark McGee. Yeah. Daydream believer.
I feel like then it's just Kenny Jackett after that. I feel like that's the two like.
Kenny was obviously.
We had that period which was like managers galore.
Yeah.
Just like, okay,
Spackman,
see you later. See you later.
And then we got it right with Kenny. King Kenny. What other games like? Have you got anything you can stick out to you like you just said?
I'm trying to think of
something obscure.
I feel like a lot of.
Brixton Way's not a bad one, but that's the end of the season, wasn't it?
I think we did Sheffield United away, and I was a mascot. I remember that one just because I was a mascot. Did Leighton Orient away, and I was a mascot. Remember that one. Trying to think like there's loads of like Forest away days that were great, and then loads of one that sticks out in my mind is a QPR away night on a Tuesday night, and it was just coins galore. And I remember like being excited that I got like 11 quid because I was staying after like picking it all up.
Oh dear. Yeah, QPR's always an eventful one.
What game really stands out for me is Birmingham playoff semi-final here, where Stern John like scores like 92nd minute, whatever.
Yeah.
And then ambush out here. Remember that one?
That was a painful night in the club's history. The away leg was very good. When we went up there, we drew 1-1. Dion Dublin scored a late equaliser. There's actually a photo of me in the south on the press in that one.
Good old Dion Dublin.
Dion Dublin. He was another one. Dion Dublin. I think that season we had Paul Moody, Neil Harris, Dion Dublin, and Steve Claridge all around it. No wonder we done well.
Yeah.
With Stephen Reid.
And then you go down the years, and we had Paul Huberts.
Stefan Meyerhofer.
We had some.
Come on, let's get on to them then. Some bad players. Some bad players.
You know, player is a bad player, but I loved him. Abu Fofana.
Yeah.
Because he was rapid.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful on FIFA. That was the key for me.
Get him. He's only 60 rated, but can the boy run?
Yeah. Who else? Yes, we've had some awful ones though.
Yeah, we definitely have.
I'm trying to think some awful players we've had. Adrian Siriu just had a good throw.
Yeah, do you remember Siriu? He came with Josh Simpson, didn't he? The
Canadians,
Canadian invasion. And I remember their debut. I'm sure we played Leicester at home, and he looked like the next big thing. Does your dad still go? Do you still go? What's your aspirations and hopes going forward?
I think half my family still go, but not as many of them. Kind of all like slow dribbled out a little bit. I think that's just family issues though.
Yeah.
So.
Nothing to do with Millwall.
Yeah. Aspirations for Millwall now.
Yeah.
I think just to solidify championship status really.
Yeah.
And let's just stay here and just get some more money into the club, but still try and keep who we are.
Husky have just walked up, and you're exactly right. Get some money into the club, but retain our.
But that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. But they are actually. I know this Swedish. I don't know where it's from. But they are apparently very much love the club and want the best for the club moving forward. So it could happen.
But then it's like but we could get a lot of money, but then this day and age, in like 10 years' time, Championship maybe be like 30 million a player. You know, like the way Championship is going.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. Some of the money in the Championship, some of the players in the Championship, and clubs.
We're going to run out, like...
There's no Adrian Sirius left no more.
We're going to run out of clubs in the Championship that haven't got parachute payments. That's what we're going to do.
That could definitely happen. But I think you're right what you said, that people, if we finish mid-table, fantastic. Hats off to the manager. Obviously, due to the season we had, first season back in the Championship, last year the season we had finishing 1-2 places above the relegation zone. That's the season we should have had in the first season back in the Championship.
That's what you'd expected, yeah.
And there was a lot of angry people around, a lot of fans not happy with the way we played football, but if they have had that season, the first season back in the Champ, no one would have said anything. Because we overachieved, I think the fans' level of expectancy was a lot higher.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, I feel like if we get to Premiership ever, would that be a good thing about? I can't still decide.
Oh, is it?
Because imagine like the Millwall, Chelsea, West Ham, would be great.
I was not just thinking that, but also obviously, like we said earlier, Millwall would have always retained their authenticity, and would there be hot dogs? Would there be happy clapping? And yeah, it just wouldn't wash at Millwall. It wouldn't wash. I think if we went up, I think it'd be for a season, and I think we get relegated. Cause a bit of havoc.
Then that might ruin us.
A lot of Sunday morning kick-offs at 11 o'clock.
That might break us though, getting promoted and coming down. We get the parachute payments, but then we probably have bought all these players that we're going to spend tons of money on wages, and then we can't afford it anymore.
I think, well, again, and people who criticise me for not spending enough, I think we've done things the right way, and I think exactly what you just said. You've seen teams like Hull go up. You've seen teams like Middlesbrough go up, spend all the money, come down, end up skint. And it's not the right way.
Still spending money now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where they're getting it from, but it's maybe not always the way to go. Do it slowly, softly, do it the right way.
I think I'm happy just being a Championship club.
Yeah,
it's a kind of weird thing to say.
What bracket would you put Millwall in if you had to describe Millwall?
I think we're just a passionate team, a team that give our all. We're not be the most skillful bunch and haven't got the most money, but we're passionate. Both fans and players are passionate about the club, and that's what we are, really.
Absolutely spot on, mate. I really appreciate your time today. Good man.
No worries, thank you.